Welcome you all. Myself MP Misra, Faculty, School of Computer and Information Sciences, IGNOU. And with me is Professor Dev Prakash Vidyarthi, Professor in School of Computer and System Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor Vidyarthi will be discussing about auction mechanisms and how this mechanism can be utilized in optimizing resources provisioning process in cloud computing. So I request Professor D.P. Vidyarthi to initiate the discussion and tell about what actually auction mechanisms are.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. The cloud computing has become a business model, so it gives ample opportunity to apply the auction in the area of the cloud computing. So let us deliberate upon what the auction is and how it can be applied. So factually, I'll introduce you the basic concept of auction, what are different types of auction, and to disseminate how auction can be used for the allocation of resources, especially the cloud resources, that is the CPU, the memory, the bandwidth, etc., etc. And obviously, to motivate you, so that you can apply auction mechanism as a tool for research in the area of the cloud computing as well as in many other areas where the resources are auctioned usually. So let us see what the auction is. Going by the auction and the definition of the auction is factually a market negotiation mechanism with a well specified set of rules determining the prices and the resource allocations on the basis of bids submitted from the participants. So in fact, there are participants in terms of the users that are going to use the resources and in terms of the service providers that are going to provide the resources. So on the basis of these two, a set of rules are defined and the prices are determined so that both are benefited. The negotiation is mediated by an intermediary. So that is there in between to negotiate between the service provider and the user. There is a person, there is a mechanism which we call as the intermediary or the auctioneer. Exchanges are usually the market based or the currency based. Obviously, the aim is to optimize the payoff of the participants. That is both the participants in the provider, service provider, as well as the users of the resources are gaining out of the auction. They are winning it. Obviously, usually what happens, the winner praises their winning abilities. That is, they say that we have the winning ability and losers blame other bidders, not the auctioneer for the loss. So the blame is not on the auctioneer. Rather, they said that the winner says that I have the winning abilities and losers blames the other bidders. That is how the other bidders have quoted, not the auctioneer. This is what usually the mechanism and how the auction is applied, how the auction is actually defined. As far as the entities in the auction is concerned, there are three entities usually: the seller, the service provider who has the resources and who auctions those resources. There is a buyer who actually is interested to use the resources and he buys the auction, he or she buys the resources from the service provider. And in between the seller and buyer, there is another entity which we call as the auctioneer or intermediary, that is who facilitates the auction between the seller and the buyer. As far as the steps in the auction is concerned, a few steps that we have listed in this particular slide, if you go through it, you'll find that the very first step is the collection of the bids, whether it is from the service provider or it is from the user. The collection of bid is done and thereafter the bid is validated. After that, the auction closes. After closing the auction, the valuation and the bid ranking is done. That is, who is paying what price and how the user is looking for the resources, how the service provider is going to provide the resources, etc., etc. So the valuation of the bid is done and accordingly the bid is ranked. Thereafter, resource is also ranked. That is the ranking of the resources in terms of the prices that they offer or in terms of the other utilities that they are going to offer. And eventually the winner is determined. This is the step where the winner is determined. The auction decides that who is going to provide the service and who is going to avail the services. And finally, the payment mechanism is actualized. That is, the payment is made based on the auctions that has taken place. As far as the mediation in the auction is concerned, mediator actually is the auctioneer in a traditional auction. Mediator manages the communication and information exchange between the participants. That is, it manages what type of communication takes place between the service provider as well as the users and some sort of information exchange that occurs. It provides a well-structured and rule enforcement. That is, the rules of the auction is decided by the mediator, that how the auction will be applicable, how the auction will be applied. Factually, the mediator is not an agent or a participant in the negotiation. He only facilitates. So mediator is not actually taking role in the auction as far as the availing of the resources are concerned. That is, the resources is not to be consumed by the mediator or the auctioneer. Rather, mediator is only to facilitate. One can think of the mediator not necessarily a physical entity. Rather, it can be an automated set of rules. That is, mediator is actually the set of rules in the auction that decides how the auction will take place.
So we can say that mediator is a kind of entity, sir, in that case that entity is ensuring the set of rules or the criteria under which the auction process is going to be executed.
Yeah, actually the mediator is there to facilitate the auction. So mediator decides the rule, mediator structures the rule, and then based on that, both the resource provider or the service provider and the user that are going to avail the services are actualize the whole auction process.
So the responsibility of the mediator is to ensure the fairness in whole process of the auction.
Yeah, and to facilitate both the service provider as well as the users of the resources.
Okay.
Now, as far as the categorization of the auction is concerned, various categorization has been done in the literature. Like on the basis of the role of participants, the categorization is done, where we categorize the auction in three. One is the forward auction. In forward auction, what happens? The service provider actually invites the bids from many users and decides. So it is sort of a monopoly of the service provider that limited services are there and there are many users of that particular service. So the forward auction deals with the monopoly of the service provider, and the service provider invites the bid from the users. In the reverse auction, exactly the reverse happens. That is, the user puts their bid or their requirement. There are many service providers who can provide these resources, actually comes into the picture. Double auction is from both the sides. That is, from the service provider as well as from the users. So the bids are invited from both the service provider as well as the users. Similarly, on the basis of the bidding side also, the auction is categorized. Like, is it a one-side auction or double side auction? Like the forward auction and the reverse auction is one side auction, whereas the double auction is a double sided auction. Similarly, on the basis of the pricing mechanism, whether it is a first pricing auction or the second pricing. In the first pricing auction, whatever is the lowest or the highest depending upon what we are looking for, the auction is decided. In the second pricing auction, what happens? That of course the first pricing is there, but the bid is offered or bid is given to the pricing which is the second one. So it is just to facilitate the incentive compatibility. That is, it ensures the truthfulness. We will discuss about it when we apply this kind of auction in the cloud computing area. Then on the basis of the resources also the auction is categorized, whether it is a single unit, single item. Single item has multiple units, multiple item but having the single units, and similarly multiple item, multiple units. So on the basis of the resources, the categorization is done. Similarly, on the basis of bid composition, the auction is done. Whether the uni attribute is there, single attribute is there, resources are having multiple attributes.
So in that way, sir, the process of auction get complicated if you are having those different kind of parameter associated with it. For example, multiple units of multiple resources as well as multiple attribute associated with the auction
Exactly.
process.
That is where the auctioneer has to facilitate. Keeping all these dimensions in mind, the auctioneer has to facilitate what type of auction one is interested in. Like if you discuss some of the classic auction, probably one will be able to understand what are the different types of auction with this also. So let us see some of the classic auction mechanism. The very first is the English outcry auction. It is the most familiar auction mechanism. Probably one and all are aware of this particular auction. It's a one-sided auction, that is only buyers are going to bid. Probably one has seen in the sometimes that there is an auctioneer which says that the price of this is this much, and thereafter the users start auctioning. They start putting the prices, their own prices. So that is why it opens the auction with the starting price, which we call as the reserve price. So it starts with some reserve price, and thereafter bids are publicly open. The bids are known to everyone. There is nothing hidden in this kind of auction, English auction. Bids are publicly open, and usually it goes increasing. So you can say that it starts from the base price. Thereafter the user start bidding it, and they keep on increasing the prices. Competing bidder replaces current bid. So let's say one bid is X, then someone will say I'm going to pay X plus Y. So similarly, the competing bidders will increase the prices with the current base prices. Auction closes when no competing bidder challenges the standing price. That is, once the prices are fixed and no bidder comes into the picture, comes into the play that it is going to increase the prices, then probably the bidding process stops. Of course, if no bidder accepts from the starting itself, then one has to take the decision depending upon either the auctioneer begins to lower the starting price. So let's say you start with X, but nobody is bidding for the X. Then probably we do have to look into whether we are going to do X minus Y or not. So either the prices will be decreased or the item will not be sold at all. Maybe this whole auction process will be postponed for a while. This is what exactly happens in the English auction. Similarly, we do have the Dutch auction. What happens in the Dutch auction? It is a one-sided auction which probably was used in selling the tulips in the Dutch flower market, and that is why the name has been given as the Dutch auction. It closes very quickly, so bids are publicly known. Again, in this also, bids must be decreasing. Contrary to the English auction, in the Dutch auction, bids factually are decreasing. So what happens? You start with auctioneer start with the maximum pricing. So you start with the max and lowers asking prices until someone accepts. So let's say you start with X, nobody is bidding for X, then you say X minus 1, nobody is bidding for X minus 1, then you keep on decreasing, and auction closes when anyone accepts it. So once it is accepted by any of the users, then auction closes. So in principle, you will find that the Dutch auction and the English auction are contrary in nature. English auction increases the prices, whereas the Dutch auction decreases the prices. Then the third auction is the Vickrey auction, which is also famous, which is a one-sided auction. Only the buyers bid. It is a type of sealed bid auction. Normally what happens in the official process is that we invited the sealed bid. So it is a sealed bid auction in Vickrey auction. Bidders submit written bids without knowing the bid of the other people. So without knowing what others have quoted, the bidders or the competitors in the market, they put their bids in a sealed envelope or in a sealed auction. We call it a sealed bid auction. Highest bid receives the good, pays second highest price. But in fact, what happens? The highest bidder receives the good, that is receives the outcome. It is paid the second price. So the second pricing is because of, so that the bidding is truthful. That is, all are quoting the truth bid. That is, they don't proxies or they don't put the false bid in terms of gaining or in terms of, let's say, snatching the auction or in snatching the goods, etc. It has a very nice property that truth telling is a dominant strategy. So Vickrey auction factually is supported, where we expect that all the bidders are factually truthful bidders. Then comes the first price sealed bid. This is how houses etc. are sold. What happens? It is again a one-sided auction. Bids are hidden. In this also, each buyer bids in secret. Everyone bids once. That is, the bidding is done only once, and highest bidder wins the auction. That is, whosoever bids the highest wins the auction. The challenge for the bidder here is guessing what others are bidding. So here again, as it is a hidden auction, bids are hidden. So here again the challenge is to guess what others are going to quote, because the allocation will be done accordingly only. That if I am the highest bidder, then only the bid will come to me. So this way the challenge lies that what others are going to quote. Similarly, we do have the double auction, continuous double auction, and this happens what NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange also work in this particular fashion, which is a two-sided auction. That is, the sellers and buyers, both of the auctioneer bid. Matches are made continuously. That is, from the seller's bid and the buyer's bid, the matching is done. So a continuous matching is performed in the continuous double auction. Matches are made based on the difference between the bid price and the ask price. That is, what one is willing to pay and what is being asked by the seller. Let's say seller is telling that I am ready to sell in this particular price, but whether there is a user which can buy in that particular price or not. So both are important. The willingness to pay and the seller also, the willingness of seller also to accept the price. Again here the challenge is guessing future movement of the clearing prices. That is, how the future will be there, how the future bidders are the bidders in the future, how they are going to bid, how they are going to made the prices, etc. That is what happens in the stock exchange market also. So it's a continuous double auction usually is applied in the stock exchange market. As far as the auction properties are concerned, there are various auction properties that we can browse through. Like we say, efficiency. Efficiency is the property in which the agents with the highest valuation gets the goods. So efficiency determines how the auctioneer or how the agents is evaluated based on the highest valuation of their goods. If not, accept an aftermarket to develop. If one is not able to provide so, then probably there will be some after development thereafter. Another property of the auction is the incentive compatibility. That is, incentive compatibility actually supports the truthful bidding. The optimal strategy is to bid honestly, to support that all the bidders, whether it is a service provider or the users which are going to avail the resources, are bidding honestly, or in terms of gaining the contract they should not be dishonest. So incentive compatibility is the property where the bidders are factually interested in the truthful bidding. It is easy for the participants, no need to counter speculate, because it will be a truthful bidding. What I can offer, that truthfully I will bid accordingly. Is easy to determine the efficient allocation. And third property is how is surplus distributed. That is, once you have allocated the resources, the remaining surplus resources, how it will be distributed. So factually it will look into which consumers are the happiest. So let's say from your bidding, many of the consumers are happiest, then probably you'll be able to, or you'll be happy to distribute the surplus resources to those users. So this is also one of the property of the auction. Who pays the transaction cost? That is also important in the auction properties, that the transaction which occurs between the users and the bidders and the service providers, who is paying to who is going to pay the transaction cost, and how much the transaction cost is. So that is also an important property. Some other properties that we can look from the auction is, can the auction mechanism be manipulated by coalitions? That is, 2 or 3 service providers can manipulate together in quoting the bids. This is also a property one has to look into. How long does it take to close? How long it will take to close the auction? How much time is taken in closing? It should not be trapped in the infinite time also. So that is also an important property of the auction. Then the bidder's optimality is there. Best possible. Bidder's optimality determines the best possible price. Out of the auction, the best possible price is determined out of the auction mechanism. Non-dominance says that only winning bidder has the non-dominated bid. That is, whosoever has the winning capability, or whosoever is the real service provider, actual service provider, in truthful terms, factually is non-dominant. Individual rationality is the property which says that it is not at all harmful to the participate. Means all are interested to participate. So it encourages the participants, the users and the service provider, to participate in this. Similarly, there is a property known as the budget balance. Sum of money transferred to all the participants is equal to 0. That is, what is being paid by the users actually goes to the service provider. So this particular property is known as the budget balance. And there, of course, is the egalitarian social welfare, which reduces the differences among the bidders. That is, the auction should not differentiate between the rich bidder and the poor bidder. So auction should be able to actually take care of both the rich bidders and the poor bidders. Otherwise, only the rich bidder will be in the market and the poor bidder eventually will vanish. So egalitarian social welfare looks into this particular aspect.
So sir, in real life scenario, if we discuss about implementation of certain kind of problem using auction mechanism, for example, our computer science student. So if there are resources of that nature which can be put for auction, or there are some service provider who are putting those resources, as well as the people who are willing to get that particular resource for utilizing their particular service or implementing their service, and obviously in between some agent who is going to help the whole process of auction activities. So all these things, if you are considering for your specific problem, then definitely you can explore the possibility of using auction mechanism for solving that particular specific problem and optimize the given situation and gain out of that particular optimization process.
Exactly. And that is what we have to look into, where the auction can be applied. Like auction is applied in this auctioning of this spectrum also, the bandwidth also. So bandwidth is the resources which is equally to be given to nearly all the participants that are truthful bidder. So auction is applied there. Right. Similarly, the auction for the cloud resources also is coming up very rapidly. As in the next part of this particular discussion, we'll see that how the auction has been applied, or how the auction can be applied in the area of the cloud computing. Right. So that is what we'll look into.
Okay.
So far we are discussing some of the auction mechanism, auction properties, etc., etc.
Right.
Now, as far as the valuation of the goods are concerned, for the auctioneer as well as for the service provider, there are actually various classification, various categories. Like if it is a private value, independent value, in which the amount a person is willing to pay does not depend upon how much others will pay, like the electricity, like the computational resources, etc., etc. Where the private value, whatever I am going to ask, that will be private. Similarly, there is a common valuation where the amount a person is willing to pay depends upon the others that are placing the amount for the same goods, like the stock exchange, like the gold, like the antiques. So here it depends what others are paying. So the whole market is dependent. So in the common value it happens, and sometimes the correlated value also, like some which involves some private valuation as well as some common valuations, where the item may provide both value and the investment. Some artwork are evaluated with this particular mechanism of the correlated value. Challenge with the correlated and the common value is estimating what others are paying. So this is actually the challenge with the common and the correlated value. Now coming to this particular part, the cloud computing area, and how the auction can be applied in this particular area of the cloud computing. So factually in this particular one, we will deliberate upon what the cloud computing is, what are the cloud resources, what are some of the properties of the cloud computing, cloud resources, and then probably how the auction can be applied over the cloud computing area. So let us see upon this. As far as the cloud computing is concerned, actually the cloud computing is a utility over the internet. It's actually a metaphor of the internet. As for the NIST, which is an organization which defines the standard, US based organization, which defines the standard over the protocols, over the various standard mechanism, defines the cloud as the cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. So configurable computing resources says that computing resources you can avail and can configure it according to your requirement. Computing resources that we talk about here says that the network, the servers, the storage, the application and the services, all these resources we count as the computing resources that can be rapidly provisioned. Meaning of the rapidly provision is that there is a least human intervention and the provisioning is automatic, right? The provisioning is automatic. The least human intervention, automatic provisioning is done. It makes the long-held dream of utility computing possible with a pay-as-you-go model. So it's a kind of a utility computing like water, like electricity. Cloud is now considered as a utility. That is, it is a type of a utility where you avail the cloud services, you avail the computing services, and you pay for those services. You pay for the services that you are going to avail. Now, as far as the cloud computing is concerned, there are two essential concepts in the cloud computing. One is the virtualization and another is the abstraction. So cloud is not possible without the virtualization because the resources are physical resources, limited physical resources, and how to virtualize the physical resources so that it can be given to multiple users, multiple cloud users. So virtualization is a very effective technique that are applied in the area of the cloud computing. It deals with the assigning a logical name for a physical resource and provides a pointer to that physical resource when a request is made. Mapping can be assigned based on rapidly changing condition. Even the mapping of the, let's say once you are availing the particular service with the particular configuration, probably the next time you can immediately change the requirement. So the mapping is assigned based on the rapidly changing conditions. Another essential concept of the cloud is the abstraction, which details the system implementation, which abstract the details of system implementation from the users and developers. So user is factually not aware of what type of system, physical system you have, or what type of actually the services are being implemented at the back end. So abstraction is done, and where the user is totally oblivious of what actually is being done. It is based on the notion of the pooling physical resources and presenting them as a virtual resource. At the back end, we can pool multiple physical resources, we can pool multiple devices. User is not aware of all these pooling, etc. What user is offered is a kind of a virtual resource. So this is what happens in the cloud computing. So these two are basically very important concept in the cloud computing.
So in another term, we can say that, sir, if we are looking for some kind of resource, so we are just concerned about the resource which we are looking for.
Exactly.
We are not actually concerned that how actually that particular thing is provisioned. Virtually it is available to me as a single resource and it is provided with certain kind of naming or mapping of the name with the specific resource which is at the back end.
Yeah, exactly.
So behind the curtain there are so many internal implementation and internal mechanism or internal licensing, but at the front end as a user or as a service getter you are getting what actually you are bidding for or what you are looking for from that particular cloud service.
Exactly, that is what happens in the cloud. User is not at all concerned with how the data center is being managed. User is only interested, he wants this service, whether it is a software service or a hardware service, whether it is infrastructure as a service or software as a service or a platform as a service. All these kind of service will be provided to the user in terms of the virtual machines, in terms of the virtualize, and that is where the the virtualization. So virtualization and abstraction, these are two very essential properties of the cloud computing. Now, as far as some of the characteristic of the cloud is concerned, it's a on-demand self-service. So that is no human intervention in between. You put your service and there is a software which determines how you will be offered the service. So it's an on-demand self-service. Broad network access. So most of the cloud services or all cloud services are availed over the internet. And as you are availing the cloud services on the internet, it can be given anywhere on any of the devices that one is interested in. Resource pooling is also another interesting characteristic, essential characteristic of the cloud, which says that resources are pooled and pooling gives us the efficient utilization of the resources, where the cost also matters. The cost also comes into the picture. So it's a cost, it determines the cost efficiency as well. Then another property is the rapid elasticity. Rapid elasticity actually deals with the ability to scale. So as and when our requirement goes, depending upon the application, sometimes it may happen that we require 20 virtual machines. Initially we had one virtual machine, then we require 20 virtual. So immediately it can be scaled up. So cloud is able to provide all these resources in one go. So we do not have to bother about how the resources will be provided. That actually determines how to scale it. Call it as the rapid elasticity, how these resources can be quickly given to the users, which demands more resources. And then another property is it is a measured service. Measured means it will be metered, it will be counted. It will be counted that for how much time you have used, how many resources, how much resources you have used. Because depending upon that, you will be charged, as it is a pay as you go service. So it is a measured, metered service. It monitors the resources that you are using. It monitors the time also, for how much time you are going to use the resources. As far as the cloud market is concerned, there are market participants in terms of the users we call cloud customers, and this cloud fits very well to apply the auction in this particular fashion, because market participants of the cloud providers as well as the cloud customers. So there is a service providers of the cloud as well as there are customers to avail the cloud services. Then the objective is to provide the resources. The objectives from the provider point of view is to provide the resources to maximize their revenue, because the provider is there to earn some money. So to maximize the revenue is one of the objective of the cloud provider, and of course to remain in business. If he offers, most often if the cloud provider offers good services in terms of the quality of service, in terms of the pricing as well, the better service in cheaper rates, then probably he will remain in the market. So this is also one of the objective of the cloud provider, to remain in the market, to remain in the business. As far as the objective of the cloud customer is concerned, the cloud customer is concerned with to get the resources at minimum cost. That is, resources, users are interested in availing the better service in least pricing. So to get the resources at minimum cost is one of the objective of the cloud customer. Another objective of the cloud customer is to maximize the satisfaction. That is, user at the end should be happy with the services that he has availed. So that is also one of the objective of the cloud customer. User is happy with the services. Then recent terms affecting the cloud market is cloud federation, multi-cloud. So as the cloud market has developed, many recent terms has been coined. Cloud federation is the term where multiple cloud together and offers the services in terms of, let's say, if the particular service is not available with one cloud, if you have the federation of cloud, then probably one can avail the service from the other cloud also. Multi-cloud is jointly called as the inter-cloud, where the multiple cloud join together in offering the services. Not only when the services are not available, rather one service may be with me, one service may be with other, and so on. So they join all together.
So sir, one question arises here, that the best suitable example for utilizing the auction mechanism is the utilization or to get the access of cloud services, whether it is platform as a service, software as a service, or some other resources, provision resources as a service. So as a user, if I am looking to access the cloud services, so obviously there will be several quality parameter on which I will be looking at. For example, the efficient access of the service, sufficient amount of the storage, sufficient capacity of the processing capabilities. So all these things together will be combined in my own requirement, and then I will be putting my bid to get those requirements, and obviously the service provider will be putting their services with associated cost, and some mediator will deal with it. And if I am a winning candidate, I will be provided that particular service to access. Otherwise, some other person with the same requirement, if that person is winning, then that person will be getting the access to that service.
That is how exactly happens in the cloud. The users actually prepares their bids. in terms of what he requires, apart from what he is willing to pay also. So the pricing is also an important parameter, what user is willing to pay.
Okay.
Now as far as the pricing of the cloud resources is concerned, if you look into this particular one, you will find that the pricing can be classified into two. One is the static pricing, where the prices are fixed. Another is the dynamic pricing, where the prices will vary. So in static pricing, we have once the fixed pricing. Another is the two types of provisioning plan is there as far as the static pricing is concerned. One is the pre-decided plan, where we say that okay, we will offer these resources for this much amount of time, or user can avail these kind of resources for this much of time, and various packages are offered from the service provider. Like if you say, if you take the monthly package, whether you use the resources or not, you will be charged for the monthly package only. Similarly, you can have hourly package also. There can be a reservation plan, that is you can reserve the resources for a month, or it can be based on the on-demand plan also. That is as and when you require the resources. Let's say you require the resources for an hour, you don't need to reserve it for a month also. But then based on these, pricing also is determined. That is, if you have probably the monthly plan, you will be charged less. If you have the hourly plan, you will be charged more. So these are actually the pricing mechanism of the cloud resources, which comes into the static pricing. Another pricing mechanism is the dynamic pricing, where the pricing is decided based on the supply and demand, what kind of demand we have and what type of supply of the resources we have. So the prices are determined dynamically. Auction has the application mostly towards the dynamic pricing, and where some of the cloud service providers have applied the auction mechanism in this cloud market. Now if we come to the auction based resource provisioning, probably we can look into why the auction is important in the cloud computing. Actually, the auction is important because we are interested in that the cloud resources are better utilized. Another requirement is that the resources that we are going to utilize are the resources that are available in the cloud. They are getting the better pricing. The resource providers, service providers are getting the better pricing, as well as the users are also served the resources, are offered the resources in good pricing. So better pricing is another, let's say, objective why we do have to apply the auction. Though dynamic pricing increases difficulty in seller's price, because we are not able to determine how the prices will vary. That is why it is a bit difficult to implement the dynamic pricing, and that is why you'll find that this is an upcoming market, how the dynamic pricing is to be applied in the cloud computing, where we do have plenty of opportunity that how the auction can be applied to the dynamic pricing. Now as far as the implementation of the auction in the cloud is concerned, you will find that the Amazon, which is the major cloud service provider, has applied the auction in the selling the instances, the cloud instances, and they call it as the spot instances. So Amazon spot instances allocation of unutilized resources. So let's say after selling the resources, there are some spare resources, there are some unutilized resources that Amazon converts it into the spot instances and offers some spot prices so that anybody can avail those resources. Spot cloud, there is another service provider, Spot Cloud, which actually offers the resources which are required by the VirtuStream, which provides a generalized structured framework for the creation of the compute spot market, where compute centric commodities are traded. There is another Moda Clouds, which is a model driven approach for the design and execution of application of multiple clouds. Now as far as the Amazon spot instances are concerned, actually what happens in the Amazon spot instances, Amazon continuously evaluates the residual instances, that is what is remaining, continuously evaluates it and then creates a pool of these spots and then offers these spots to the users. It updates its pool price continuously. So pricing of the spot is determined on a spot and continuously, that okay, this will be the spot pricing depending upon what is the requirement from the user. So
even
spot
availability
pricing
of resources also will make fluctuation in the
exactly.
price. If
That is
more
why
resources are free, then there may be a probability that the price of the resource will come down.
Yeah, exactly. That is what spot pricing is about, mostly about the residual resources that the Amazon is having and what the user is willing, what the user is interested in. So spot is actually based on that. And if you look at this particular figure, you will find that the red one is the user bid, blue one is what the spot price is being offered by the Amazon. So let's say user is bidding more than the spot pricing, but the user will be charged with the spot pricing only. So let's say user says that okay, I am ready to offer this, and the Amazon decides depending upon okay, they have this much residual resources and the demand is not very high in the market, so he can offer these resources in this pricing. So user will be given the spot prices, and which user will happily accept
So
it.
as this particular diagram is predicting or showing, it is very clearly shown that in spite of user is willing to pay more, the service provider is just getting the amount which is professionally should be taken by them as per their rules and regulation, and they are not offering the service to the user who are paying less than their specific price at a given specific point of time.
Exactly.
So it is very fair allocation mechanism of the resources
Yeah.
or selling.
Actually, Amazon determines what should be the price,
Right.
and then offers those resources as spot instances. And if you look at this particular diagram again, you'll find at the B point where you do find that the Amazon pricing has increased, spot instance price has increased. Then what will happen? The services of the user will be terminated. This is the drawback of the spot instances. So only those users that can bear with this drawback probably will be availing the Amazon spot instances. So let's say when the pricing of the Amazon spot instances increases, the users will be dropped. Users can again avail the services when his pricing may come down or is more than the Amazon spot pricing instances. So this is what exactly happens with the Amazon spot instances, which probably has been applied, and Amazon is able to offer these spot instances open in the market. Then there comes the forward auction. So forward auction, as we have explained in the previous one, that the forward auction is a sell side auction wherein the cloud market sells the unutilized capacity using forward. Amazon sells the unutilized capacity using the forward auction. Cloud buyer is actually compete for the what they have. So in the forward auction, what happens? The service provider has the monopoly, as we discussed previously, and there are limited resources which can be given, and there are many users, competitors that are looking for the services. So all the users will bid for those resources. So they will put their pricing, and now depending upon who is bidding highest, the resources will be allocated to them. So cloud provider in this particular case, in the case of the forward auction, has some sort of monopoly because the resources are limited and the users are, there are many users to avail the services. Forward auction, as far as the steps of the forward auction is concerned, cloud provider collects the bid, calculates the allocation and the payment, and inform to the user, and of course the winning user pays to the cloud provider, and provider provides the access to the instances. It's a simple mechanism of the forward auction. As far as the reverse auction is concerned, it is just reverse to what happens in the forward auction. In forward auction, monopoly of the provider is there, but here there are many providers and there are some users to avail the cloud services. So now the cloud users will put their bid, said they want this, and many service providers will quote there, okay, they can offer these in this much of the pricing. That is what happens in the reverse auction. You see that users prepare their requirement and they put that in the open market, that okay, this is our requirement, what you are going to provide in how much pricing. Then probably depending upon what the provider is providing in the lowest price, user can avail the services. As far as this particular diagram is concerned, you will find that just customer submits the requirement and then the auction is one-sided only. That is, the auctioneer informs all the service providers or the cloud providers that what they can offer as far as the pricing is concerned and the requirement of the user is. So it proceeds like this.
So in that process, competition is among the service providers to offer the service which can be purchased by the buyer or can be accessed by the buyer.
Exactly. Now double side auction is where from both the sides, that is from the users as well as from the service provider. So this particular one, it actually creates a good competition as both the sides in the cloud market are involved. Users compete with each other to obtain the limited amount of resources, whereas the providers compete with each other to offer their services in order to increase their revenue. So double auction is actually a mechanism in which both the users and the service providers compete with each other. In double auction, bidding happens from both sides of the market and can be used to design unbiased optimal market. As far as the cloud market is concerned, double auction is a mechanism which probably can be used to design unbiased optimal market. Double auction has many benefits, like it is based on the demand and supply. Of course, there is a matching problem because there are many users, there are many service providers. So matching problem is something where probably one has to work out. So matching problem is there in the double auction. Secondly, it prevents the monopoly and handles both sides competition as well. Is more computationally and economically efficient than single-sided auction when market participants are very large in number. As far as the applicability of the double auction is concerned, the double auction based cloud market is a futuristic scenario. Availability of multiple providers result in multi-cloud, inter-cloud and cloud. Because of the double auction only, the various terms and various service providers formed a federation, cloud federation, multi-cloud, inter-cloud cloud, etc. And as far as the cloud is concerned, probably if one is interested in applying the cloud in many other fields also, this is probably one of the literature which is a very comprehensive in nature, where we do have not only discussed how the auction can be used, what are the different types of auction, rather we have used how auction can be applied in the cloud computing area for the resource provisioning, how the auction can be applied in the cloud computing area, as well as how the auction can be applied in various other areas where we do have the resources which are market based resources, the utility based resources. So this is how exactly it happens, that how exactly it will go, how the auction can be applied in this particular area of the cloud computing.
We have seen, sir, that there are several areas in which optimization of this nature is required, that you are having multiple options of available resources and there are multiple clients or users who are looking for different options and who are exploring the possibility to optimize in certain terms, like the optimization in terms of cost, or optimization in terms of efficiency, or optimization in terms of the user satisfaction, as you mentioned. So these all are things which are associated with optimization problem, and we see enormous optimization problem around us. You touch any problem, whether it is transportation problem, whether it is hospital service problem, whether it is government management or economic system management in government system. And as far as specifically you discuss about the networking solutions or network problem, how you will optimize the network, how you will optimize the resources of the bandwidth, that is the auction of bandwidth. So you touch the area, you will find that optimization is a kind of inherent nature in that, and you have to just explore the possibility that if such kind of optimization problem can be tackled and can be addressed with the help of using this auction mechanism. So you explore different kind of auction mechanism, how those can be beneficial for addressing your specific problem. So as a computer science researcher or computer science student, if you are looking towards solving certain problem in some innovative way, so this auction mechanism may be one of the suitable mechanism for you. And I am thankful to Professor Vidyarthi for sparing his time and sharing with us his knowledge on auction mechanism and how actually they have used this particular mechanism in their various research, including the cloud computing. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.